Hi, so my name is Tucker Swoboda, and this PowerPoint is over climate change and the government and how our government should do things to help control climate change and go towards renewable and green energy. And I made this PowerPoint with the help of my paper over persuasion. So let's jump into it. So, what is climate change? Climate change is long term shifts in temperatures and weather patterns, usually natural shifts from changes in the sun to large or volcanic eruptions. So, what happens when the sun gets too close to the earth is it produces gases, and when it's hotter, those gases rise up into the atmosphere and aren't good for the earth. And then large volcanic eruptions also happen, and these send really bad gases up into the atmosphere. And these volcanic eruptions are so big that they form huge clouds of really bad gas, and that goes into the atmosphere and affects climate. And also, human activities has been a main source of climate change, and we'll go into that in the next slide. So, humans and climate change. So, burning fossil fuels generates greenhouse gas emissions that act like a blanket wrapped around the earth and trapping the sun's heat and its rising temperatures. So, carbon dioxide and methane are two main gases that cause climate change. And these happen by driving cars with gasoline, burning coal from buildings. Then you have clearing land by cutting down trees, which can cause carbon dioxide to release. And when you drive a car, you put gas in it, and that gas gets burned by the car, and that sends those gases up and they rise into the atmosphere. And then burning coal from buildings, usually big plants, and a big factor is the meat industry and the agriculture industry, and we'll go into that in the next slide. So, what the government can do in climate change. So, governments must protect the ecosystems, which is key to the fight with climate change. As you can see in this picture, this is a big plant, and all those that smoke is gases that are emitted into the atmosphere produced by that plant. So, supporting small agriculture businesses helps that because these businesses aren't producing as much gas as big industries are, like the meat industry, and that is responsible for lots of climate change. And this is because, as you can see in the picture, how the gas rises up. That is just one place that a lot of gas rises up. Those industries, those meat producing facilities, those ag producing facilities, those all have what you see in the picture. And there are hundreds of thousands of them in each city, state, and multiple countries are used in this. And using green energy can help eliminate those gases in the atmosphere, and we'll go over that in the next slide. So, green energy, and which is really renewable energy, this cuts off all those gases like carbon dioxide and methane gas that rise up into the atmosphere. So, solar farms. I'm from Texas, so we have Texas solar farms, and these are energy producing farms used with solar panels. And so solar panels capture energy from the sun and produce that into power for our cities, our houses. So whenever you charge a tablet, whenever you're watching TV, all that energy is produced from a solar farm. And then another thing is electric cars. You have the Tesla and you have hybrid vehicles. So Tesla does not produce gas, it just has a battery. And that battery produces all the energy and power in that car, so you eliminate gasoline and that gasoline burning, which rises up. Hybrid vehicles, so this is another form of car. So you have like the Mustang. The new Mustang that Ford came out with is a hybrid vehicle, and it is an electric vehicle. And you have things like Audi, which has a hybrid, has gasoline, and it can use its battery so that it cuts out the gasoline. You just have to charge it every day. And also Tesla has charging stations in every city where you can plug in your Tesla and you don't have to use power from your house. So wind power and hydropower is also a big play in this. So from wind turbines, you capture energy from that wind, and it's spinning around and around, uses that energy to produce power in houses and electricity and multiple things like big buildings and small um, small buildings where those agriculture businesses need to be. Hydropower is like from a dam or from small rivers, where you can produce the water, where the water produces energy by moving throughout the dam, and that collects energy to turn back into, like I said, electricity and other things like that. So these are a bunch of sources I use. Like, what is climate change from the United Nations? There's a big the UN is very big on energy and climate change, and our government uses the UN as a source of backing climate change. And you see lots of actors and big names in the world promoting energy and renewable energy and taking out those gases which produce climate change. And then what is green energy is another source that I use, and that is just explaining what green energy and renewable energy is, how we can use that to produce power in our cities, those cars that we can drive that eliminate gasoline, and then Ada Americas, 5 ways our government can confront climate change. And in the other slide, I just showed that, and this slide actually was, it gave things like solar farms, electric cars, wind power, and hydropower. All that website does is talk about how those can affect the climate and cut out all the gases that produce climate change. And with this, I will upload my outline of my speech, and that speech is another thing going over all the climate change that happens in the world and how the government can help us to stop that.